Warm greetings from Costa Rica. I'm happy to share with you some reflections about the Earth Charter. My hope is that this sharing will inspire you to engage with it and use it in your own context. On the 29th of June 2000, the Earth Charter was launched at the Peace Palace in The Hague in the Netherlands. This was a major event that brought together key leaders of this movement: Maurice Strong, Mikhail Gorbachev, Ruud Lubbers, Wangari Maathai, and Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands. But this initiative did not start there. It actually is an idea, or the Earth Charter idea started back in 1987 when the Brundtland Commission issued their report, Our Common Future. And in that report, they made a call for the need of a new charter to guide states in the transition to sustainable development. This recommendation was then taken to the preparatory process of the 92 Rio Earth Summit. So, in that context of the UN Conference of Environment and Development in 92, a number of consultations and negotiations took place to draft such a charter. But there was no political will to agree on such a strong statement under that UN framework and that time frame. Following the Earth Summit in 92, Maurice Strong, who was the UN Secretary General of the Earth Summit, got together with Mikhail Gorbachev, who was also interested in working on something similar. They were both interested in elevating the importance of ethics in the global arena. In this collective effort, they also involved Ruud Lubbers, who was the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, Jim McNeill, who was the Secretary of the Brundtland Commission, and they joined forces to launch a new effort to move forward with the idea of the Earth Charter. At that point, the idea was to make it to be really a global ethical framework. They were visionaries in the sense that they did not see this process limited to governments, nor just an intergovernmental process of negotiations, precisely because of the limitations and interests that normally emerge within that sphere. But rather, they saw the importance of engaging various actors, not only to get their voices, but also in engaging them in helping to realize this vision, engaging them in helping to make that into a new movement towards social transformation. I think this is really an interesting thing, especially for that moment, even the now. I mean, the fact that at that time, back in 94, when they got together, this initiative was not dependent on a UN negotiation process, but it was really a civil society process involving experts in different fields, grassroots organizations, indigenous people, and also worldly leaders, allowing probably more room and creativity, allowing more richness in this process. It's really quite something to think that they thought outside the box of the UN framework or UN negotiations and engaging this broad movement, or engaging individuals and organizations from this broad movement. This new phase began in 94 with an initial consultation, especially initial consultations in engaging organizations, and with a workshop that was held in May 95, also in The Hague, to start identifying international instruments, already existing international instruments that could serve as the basis of the Earth Charter. And at that moment, they also started to design how that broad consultation process should take place. Following that, an Earth Charter Commission was formed to oversee the consultation and drafting process. The first meeting of the Commission took place in March 97 during the Rio+5 Forum held in Brazil. A first draft of the Earth Charter was released at the end of this forum as a result of 2 to 3 years research work and to serve as the basis for further consultation. That was just the first draft of the Earth Charter that was launched in March 97. Stephen Rockefeller was invited to chair the drafting committee at that time. I had the fortune to facilitate the consultation process that took place in many countries, in all regions of the world, involving individuals and groups from various areas of knowledge, to ensure diversity, to ensure cultural diversity, but also diversity in areas of knowledge. So the Earth Charter is actually the result of this worldwide multicultural and multisectoral consultation and dialogue that took place for about 6 years during the decade of the 90s. This was a major effort to identify, through a participatory process, what were our widely shared values and principles that could frame a vision and guide humanity towards a more just, sustainable, and peaceful world. Since the launch of the Earth Charter in the year 2000, so the launch was really in June 2000, it has been widely disseminated and used. The Earth Charter has been translated in about 65 languages. We continue to emphasize the importance to look at the Earth Charter as an important instrument and ethical reference, an important instrument to further stimulate dialogue, not just to look at it or not to look at it as a dogma or anything to be imposed. We continue to stress that the Earth Charter can be used to stimulate ethical reflection, to stimulate dialogue. It can be used to guide our decisions, to put us in the direction towards a more just and sustainable world. So now, the Earth Charter can be considered as a document, an international movement, and as an organization. As a document, the Earth Charter is a declaration of interdependence and responsibility that articulates the values and principles of sustainability. It is a guide, or can be seen as a guide, an ethical reference, and a framework for building a just, sustainable, and peaceful global society. I see the Earth Charter as an ethical compass towards a more caring, respectful, and responsible civilization. I see it as an ethical compass for those many decisions we make as individuals, professionals, and as institutions. As an instrument, I see really as an instrument to help us navigate through these difficult decisions, navigate through many dilemmas in our daily lives and decisions. The ideas and principles articulated in the Earth Charter are drawn from various sources. Its development was really influenced by the growing literature on global ethics. It was influenced by the new scientific worldview, which emphasizes the notion of interdependence of all life. If you see Principle 1 of the Earth Charter, it affirms the importance to recognize that all beings are interdependent and every form of life has value regardless of its worth to human beings. The Earth Charter also reflects the wisdom of the world's religion and philosophical traditions. It reflects also the voice of the social movements associated with human rights, democracy, gender equality, disarmament, and peace. The purpose of this document is to help us expand and deepen our understanding on what it takes to live in a more sustainable world. It helps us to understand or to expand our consciousness with regards to our relationship to the large living world. It seeks to cultivate a new earth ethic that places the notion of care for the community of life at the center of our lifestyles and at the center of our decisions. The Earth Charter starts with a preamble that emphasizes the current global challenges and emphasizes the importance of universal responsibility. It has 16 principles and many supporting principles, all organized around four parts. The first is respect and care for the community of life. The second is ecological integrity. The third part of the Earth Charter, the third pillar of the Earth Charter, is social and economic justice. And the fourth, democracy, non-violence, and peace. Mainly, it is very important for us to realize that the Earth Charter emphasizes the interconnections and interdependence of all these four dimensions. At the heart of the Earth Charter lies an ethic of care and respect for the community of life. Principle 2 states the importance to care for the community of life with understanding, compassion, and love. As a movement, the Earth Charter involves individuals and organizations from 89 countries that have embraced and have adopted the Earth Charter and are using it in many creative ways. These are schools, universities, city governments, NGOs, and business institutions that see the value of the Earth Charter to their own context and their sphere of work. These are groups and individuals from around the world interested in contributing to social transformation and in being part of a global movement that is contributing to the transition to sustainability. The fact is that we urgently need to elevate people's understanding on the impact of human actions in the well-being of communities and in the life on the planet. So the Earth Charter movement makes an effort to address all of this through these lenses of system thinking and also through the angle of ethics and values. But the Earth Charter can also be seen as an institution. The Earth Charter International Secretariat is set up in Costa Rica and functions as a hub for this global movement, engaging people and organizations, facilitating the process, getting stories of good practices and experiences in using the Earth Charter, and sharing it widely. We also established an Earth Charter Education Center, which is located on the campus of the University for Peace. The center coordinates a UNESCO chair on education for sustainable development, which is based on the Earth Charter, and much of the work we do revolves around the implementation of educational programs, courses, training, workshops, and also involves research activities surrounding that intersection between education, sustainability, and ethics, using the Earth Charter as our foundation or as our framework. I encourage you all to engage in this movement as you can, thinking that the challenges of unsustainability we currently face with growing social disparities, violence, corruption, and ecological crisis is really a challenge that is rooted in a worldview that is reductionist, fragmented, and short-sighted, and that stimulates mostly individualism, self-interest, and materialism. This is a predominant worldview, and it's a worldview that results in a lack of commitment and responsibility to the common good. Commitment and responsibility to contribute to the well-being of present and future generations. Therefore, I think we need to really offer space, generate spaces to examine our worldview, to examine our assumptions and values, and in that process, the Earth Charter can be used as a wonderful reference. Let me end here with an invitation for you to look at the Earth Charter, dig into it, get familiar with it, use it as an educational instrument and as a tool to stimulate dialogue. And I hope you can see it as an ethical reference and as a guide for your decision as an individual or as an institution. See it as an ethical compass. Thank you.